Hare Krishna. So we'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नित्यनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from third canto. We are on fifth chapter, and in this chapter, Vidurji he approaches Maitreya Muni and he asks various questions. So we have discussed till verse number 5th. So we heard how Vidurji, after he meets Uddhavji and he discusses so many things about Krishna's dynasty. Uddhavji tells him about all the pastimes of Krishna, starting from birth, the pastimes in Vrindavan, in Mathura, in Dwarka. And then he said, Krishna gave me the knowledge of his Paramam Sthiti and didn't tell him much about that. And then he was about to leave. So Vidurji asked him, please tell me about that Paramam Sthiti you spoke about. Lord told you his Paramam Sthiti. What is that? So Vidurji, Uddhav, he said, actually, for this, you should go to Maitreya. Because Maitreya Muni was also present there when Krishna was speaking this knowledge to me. And the Anshul Prabhupada describes in detail about this principle of Maryada Vyatikram. And Prabhupada says that Lord does not tolerate the impertinence of Maryada Vyatikrama. So next day morning, Uddhavji leaves and Vidurji, he travels and comes to the Haridwar. There he meets with Maitreya Muni on the bank of Ganga. And there the first thing which he says is, people in this world, they engage in fruitive activities because they want happiness. But the problem is they don't get happiness and they don't get mitigation from the distress also. So please tell us, how can one get real happiness? Sukhaya karmani karoti loko natai sukham vanya duparam va vindeta bhuyah tata eva dukkham yadatra uktam bhagavan vadennaha. And then he glorifies the saintly people, the people like you. You travel for the welfare of society. And then in the 5th verse, he asked about Purushavatars. So we discussed till that. Kindly narrate how the Supreme Lord, the desireless Lord of the 3 worlds, accepts incarnations and creates the cosmic manifestations. So which avatar creates cosmic manifestations? Mahavishnu. So Purushavatars. He is asking about the Purushavatars. So we discussed the purport. Prabhupada writes, thinking material nature to be independent is like seeking milk from the nipple-like bags on the neck of goat. That is called as Aja Gala Sthana Nyaya. So some people, if he is foolish enough to think yahan se bhi doodh milega, he is foolish. So that's how Lord, he is independent and desireless, but the material nature doesn't produce anything unless she is impregnated by Supreme Lord. He does not create the material world for his own satisfaction as we create. Actually, material world is created for enjoyment of conditioned souls, illusory enjoyment, who have been against the transcendental service of the Lord since time immemorial. Material worlds, material universes are full in themselves. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. Lord is complete, whatever comes from him is complete. There is no scarcity for maintenance. So it is all the starvation and all the problems are due to administrative mismanagement and the greed. Okay, next verse. He describes about the Virata Rupa. So that Virata Rupa, he lies down on his own heart spread in the form of sky. And then he expands into many living entities. He does not have to endeavor for his maintenance because he is the master of all mystic powers and proprietor of everything. Thus he is distinct from the living entities. So then after describing this, 7th verse, he requests about knowledge of Leela avatars. We recite this verse. क्रीडन् विधत्ते द्विजगो सुराणाम् क्षेमाय कर्माण्यवतारभेदैः मनो न तृप्यत्यपि शृण्वताम् नः शुश्लोकमौलेश्चरितामृतानि
You may narrate also about the auspicious characteristics of the Lord in his different incarnations for the welfare of the twice born, the cows, and the demigods. Our minds are never satisfied completely, although we continuously hear of his transcendental activities.
So, Kridan Vidhatte, he performs many pastimes for the welfare of Dvija, Go, Surana, for the welfare of the Brahmanas, cows, and the Devatas. And Shemaya, Shemaya means for their welfare. Karmani avatar bhedai, he takes different avatars. He takes different avatars for the welfare of these three sets of people: cows, devatas, and brahmanas. And then he says, Mano na tripyati, our mind is not satisfied hearing about them. Although we have heard it continuously. Shushlok Maule Charita Amritani, we are drinking this nectar of Harikatha continuously, but still our mind is not yet satisfied. That is the glory of hearing Harikatha. Any other similar verse? Anyone remembers where it is described? One cannot be satisfied hearing Harikatha. Or translation, or somewhere, anywhere we have heard this. Vayam tuna vitripyama, first canto, last verse, first chapter, last verse. Vayam tuna vitripyama uttam shloka vikrame yashyanvatam rasagyanam swadu pade pade. All the Shaunakadi rishis, they are telling Sudha Goswami, we are not satisfied. And it will come similarly in the further verses also. One of the verse, Vidurji says, I am not satisfied. So Prabhupada writes about the twice born in the first paragraph, then cows in the second paragraph, Suranam in the third paragraph, in fourth paragraph he describes Charitamritani. So he says, civilized man is one who has taken his birth twice. So first birth is from the mother and second birth is given by spiritual master. That is second, twice born. But the spiritual master is the eternal father, because spiritual master has the responsibility to lead the disciple to spiritual salvation. Therefore, a civilized man must be twice born. And then he describes about the cows. Cow is the most important animal. and the milk nourishes the finer tissues of the brain. Bull is the father, cow is the mother. Then Suranam, he describes how the Devatas, they take care of the cosmic arrangements. The whole system of material creation is planned so that the conditioned souls may have the opportunity for self-realization. One who takes advantage of such an arrangement is called a Devata or a civilized man. And then he describes about Charita Amritani. The Lord's pastimes are all transcendental. A human being is inclined to hear good narrations and stories, and therefore there are so many books, magazines, and newspapers. Anyone knows how many publications of newspapers are there in India? Total?
Somewhere it had come. Either you mentioned it, yeah, even
इसलिए पूछ रहा हूँ.
So, 1 lakh?
It is 88,000 something. So many publications are there. World is full of all these publications. India में खाली इतने हैं. So one time one person came to Saraswati Thakur. We know the story. He was publishing Sajjan Toshni every week, I think. Or every month.
I think it is fortnightly.
Okay, I'm not sure. He was publishing very frequently.
Yeah.
So one person came and said, if you keep on publishing, you will run out of the content, right? कितना है आपके पास? So he said, I can publish a book every minute.
Yeah.
So much information is there. In this material world, so much information is there. News channels चलता रहता है. Same news getting repeated whole day. So what to speak of the pastimes of the Lord? They are unlimited. Ananta Shesha is singing the glories of the Lord since the beginning of the creation. He has not come to an end. It is said, even if somebody can count the rays of the sun, dust particles on the earth, and the snowflakes, still they'll not be able to count the glories of the Lord. Gunatmanaste api gunan vimatum hitavatirnasya ka ishirasya kalena yairvai vimita sukalpai bhupam sava khemihika dvibhasya. Kalena, even if in due course of time somebody can count, impossible. Lekin ho bhi gaya, still they cannot count. So therefore, Lord manifests all these pastimes so that we can get attracted. Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 7th verse, Natad bhashyate suryo. 7th and 6th? 7th. So in that Prabhupada writes, one should be attracted by this information and he should want to go to that place. That's how Lord manifests these pastimes. That's why he gives information about all these wonderful abodes so that we get attracted. Prabhupada writes, the pleasure in such a literature, means magazines and all that, after it is read once, becomes stale. People do not take any interest in reading such literature repeatedly. आज तक ऐसा नहीं हुआ, अरे आज न्यूज़पेपर नहीं है, कल का पढ़ लो. Same thing. No, nobody reads. Newspapers are read for less than an hour and then thrown in dustbin as rubbish. So that's how it is. Yeah, somebody can read from here, but the beauty of transcendental literatures.
But the beauty of the transcendental literatures like Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagvatam is that they never become old. They have been read in the world by civilized men for the last 5,000 years and they have never become old. They are never fresh to the learned scholars and devotees. They are ever fresh to the learned scholars and devotees, and even by daily repetition of the verses of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, there is no satiation for the devotees like Vidura. Vidura might have heard the pastimes of the Lord many times before he met Maitreya, but still he wanted the same narrations to be repeated because he was never satiated by hearing them. That is the transcendental nature of the Lord's glorious pastimes.
So devotees are never satisfied hearing Harikatha and they are only satisfied hearing Harikatha. Only Krishna Katha satisfies a devotee. Ko nama tripyet rasavit kathayam mahattamaikantam parayanasya nantam gunanam agunasya jagmu yogeshwaraye bhavapatma mukhyah. Ko nama tripyet, who can be satisfied hearing Harikatha? Rasavit, if somebody is knower of rasa. If a person doesn't have taste for it, then he will be satiated. Rasavit. With means to know. One who knows that this is the rasa. It's like if a person from a village, he comes and you give him pizza. Pizza kya hota hai? So he will not be interested in eating it. But a person who has taste for it, he can eat every day. So that's how it is. So the glories of the Lord are such that you can keep on singing. Prabhupada would say many times, if you chant your own name, Mr. John, how long can you chant? So somebody can say, somebody came and said, Swamiji, I can chant whole day, my name. So Prabhupada said, okay, you start, and when you get tired, you start chanting Hare Krishna. So nobody can be satisfied hearing Harikatha, and one is satisfied only by hearing Harikatha. Okay, so then after this, he asks third question. Please describe the different living conditions. Translation, somebody can read. 8th verse.
8th translation. The Supreme King of all kings has created different planets and places of habitation where living entities are situated in terms of the modes of nature and work. And he has created their different kings and rulers.
So that is the third question he asks. And then Prabhupada writes about the various planets of this creation. He says, even on this planet, there are different places for inhabitation. Similarly, Lord has created various planets for habitation of different species of life. All the Gandharvas, Yakshas, Kinnaras, Rakshas, they are all staying in different locations. No planet is vacant, Prabhupada writes. Everywhere somebody is there. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, living entity is called as Sarvagataha. Sarvagata means they are everywhere. That does not mean, Prabhupada writes that. In Bhagavad Gita, we find it said by the Lord, living entities are Sarvagataha. Nityaha Sarvagata Sthanur Achaloyam Sanatanaha. Okay. The living conditions for those of greater intelligence are more luxurious than on this earth. Next verse, translation.
O chief amongst the Brahmanas, please also describe how Narayana, the creator of the universe and the self-sufficient Lord, has differently created the natures, activities, forms, features, and names of the different living creatures.
So now he asks about the different types of living creatures which are made by Lord Narayan. So after this, as he asks all these questions, Maitreya Muni, he says, but you must have heard all this in Mahabharata, right? So that's what, so expecting this, Vidurji, he speaks next verse, very beautiful verse. Paravaresham Bhagavan Vratani Shrutani me Vyasa Mukhadabhikshnam Atripnuma Shulla Sukhavahana Tesham Krishna Kathamritoghat
Teshamrite Krishna Kathamritoghat.
These higher and lower statuses of human society from the mouth of Vyasdeva. And I'm quite satisfied with all these lesser subject matters and their happiness. They have not satisfied me with the nectar of topics about Krishna.
So, para avara, I have heard about the knowledge of this world and knowledge of other worlds also. Higher and lower statuses of the human society I have heard from Vyasmukha, from the mouth of Vyasadev. But Atripnuma, I am not satisfied. Shulla Sukha, they have given me very little happiness. And they have not satisfied me. Because Rite Krishna Katha Amrita Ogha. Ogha means the ocean. There is no ocean of nectar of pastimes of Krishna there. So that is the understanding. He says, I am not satisfied. I have heard a lot about all these things, but because it was not mixed with Krishna Katha, I was not satisfied. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, they gave insignificant happiness, being without the abundant nectar of Krishna's pastimes. So what Vidurji is asking is, whatever I have asked, you should speak about, but mixed with the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. I don't want to hear just all the history and geography of the world. You add it with Krishna Katha and then you speak. That is relishing. That's how a devotee should be expert. Even if he is presenting ordinary mundane knowledge, he should be expert in bringing out some philosophical aspects or something by which people can relate to Krishna. That is called as maturity. That is called as expert preacher. He tries to utilize all the things in Krishna's service. He'll find something, okay, I can connect this to this point in Krishna's philosophy or Krishna conscious philosophy. So that's how we have to learn. Prabhupada writes, in the first paragraph, Prabhupada writes, what is the purpose of a Purana? So why Vyasadeva compiled Puranas, Mahabharata? Because people are interested in hearing all these things, history and social, all these things people like to hear. So Vyasadeva, he wrote this. The real purpose of such literatures is not so much to present topics of historical references, but to revive the people's sense of God consciousness. Today only, one devotee asked Maharaj a question, similar to this question. Radha Swami Maharaj, he was asking that, nowadays, there is a tendency in devotees, they like to hear and read about so many other things of the world, and the excuse they give is, I have to be updated, otherwise, how will I connect to people? So that's why I'm reading all these other things, all the information of the world. And so how to understand, to what extent a devotee should go into these things? So then Maharaj was telling that, firstly, we have to imbibe the Krishna conscious philosophy very nicely. We have to be ourselves sincere and serious in the practice. And we should always be very clear about why I am reading all these things. Otherwise, it is so very easy to get distracted, because these things are naturally full of passion and ignorance. So if we are not careful, then our consciousness will go lower and lower. So that's how. So Prabhupada is writing here, the real purpose is not to present the historical references, but to revive people's sense of God consciousness. So that's how Maharaj was saying that we have to somehow connect it to Krishna, so that people can come close to Krishna. And whatever we are hearing or reading, we should be very careful not to go too much into it. Otherwise, we'll go away from Krishna conscious philosophy. And we'll start discussing all these things only. So Prabhupada writes, Mahabharata is the history of battle of Kurukshetra, and common people read it because it is full of topics regarding social, political, and economic problems of life. But factually, the most important part of Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. And then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada writes about Atripnuma. He says, Vidura, he was not satisfied. He was anxious to hear transcendental topics regarding Sri Krishna, because there were insufficient topics directly concerning Krishna in Purana and Mahabharata. He was not satisfied. And that's what happened in the beginning of first canto. We heard Vyasadeva was despondent. What were the two reasons why Vyasadeva was not satisfied?
Because he didn't.
There is overemphasis on the concepts of the and
Not glorified Lord.
glorification of
Lord Krishna.
Okay, yes. Bhavata anudita praya. You have not sufficiently glorified Krishna's pastimes, and you have emphasized on dharma, artha, kama, moksha more.
Prabhuji, in this word to word meaning, Atutuma or
Atripnoma. Yeah.
here it is, I am satisfied. I say, written like this.
Even in the translation also it is written, I am satisfied.
I'm quite satiated. मतलब बहुत ही मैं पक गया हूँ वो सुन के. Quite satiated. And that is enough of it. You know, that's what Prabhupada writes in the translation. I'm quite satiated.
I have had enough of
I'm quite satiated with all these lesser subjects.
हाँ, so quite satiated मतलब I've heard enough of it. I am not so much attracted to all these topics now because उसमें कृष्ण कथा नहीं था. So you know, just like अभी उसमें है ना भगवद गीता 10th verse 1st chapter भीमाभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तम् इदं तुदमेतेषां बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितम् अपर्याप्तम् तदस्माकं बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् पर्याप्तम् तुदमेतेषां बलं भीष्मा नहीं उल्टा हो गया ना जो भी है whatever. So similarly, you know, quite satiated means I don't want to hear any more of that, you know.
Okay. He is satisfied for all other things.
हाँ बस. You know, I'm satisfied with all the lesser topics. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, I've heard enough. I don't want to hear it more.
In the Vishnu Chakra Thakur's, he's giving an analogy commentation on this.
Yeah. क्या है?
The usage is like Nagnes the Priyati. This is
A fire is not satisfied by sticks of the wood. Okay, yeah, same thing. Yes, what is that? Chakravarti Thakur. I am satiated with them. You know, so he's like describing. Satiated means what? He was actually not satisfied with them. So that means बहुत हो गया ये सुन लिया इससे मेरा मन संतुष्ट नहीं हुआ मतलब जितना सुना उसमें ही पक गया मैं. You know, I am done with it. They give insignificant happiness being without the abundant nectar of Krishna's pastimes. Yeah, thank you. So Prabhupada also gives this example of fire wala जो अपने चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर लिखते हैं. So Prabhupada is also writing that. So he says Bhagavad Gita is important on account of its being a Krishna katha. We are not interested in any battle. Just like few years back, you know, we went with some youth for a yatra to our Nathdwara, and उसके पास में चित्तौड़गढ़ भी पास में आता है. सही तो नहीं तो आता है पास में है ना. So we went वहाँ पे वो बैटल ऑफ पानीपत वहाँ पे हुआ था. हल्दी घाटी बैटल ऑफ हल्दी घाटी वहाँ पे राणा प्रताप एंड उसका बैटल हुआ था मान सिंह का. So you know, devotees are asking हम यहाँ पे क्यों आए हैं प्रभु जी. We thought हम लोग थोड़ा बीच में थोड़ा एक कुछ तो साइट सीइंग कर लेंगे ऐसा ही. But you know, नए लोग they were happy. अरे प्रभु मजा आ रहा है. And those who are seniors, they were asking, why have we come here? There is nothing Krishna conscious here. And वो Johor हुआ था, all the Padma. So why we have come here? You know. So that's how those who are devotees, they are not interested in all these things. If Krishna is there, although these topics are really, you know, boiling the blood, उसमें धर्म का और मुस्लिमों ने अत्याचार किया, but there is no Krishna there. So therefore, the devotees are not satisfied. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha, devotees are not satisfied. Although they have dharmic importance, political importance, but they are not important for devotees. Story of Battle of Kurukshetra may be interesting for mass of people, but to a person like Vidur, only Krishna Katha is interesting. As the fire is never satisfied in the consumption of firewood, a pure devotee of the Lord never hears enough about Krishna. Historical events and other narrations concerning social and political incidents all become transcendental as soon as they are in relationship with Krishna. That is a way to transform mundane things into spiritual identity. Whole world can be transformed into Vaikuntha if all worldly activities are dovetailed with Krishna Katha. So devotees are not interested in anything where Krishna is not there. Parijate, they are satisfied only with Krishna Katha. Parijate anjasa labdhe sarango anyanna sevate twadangri sadhya sakshat kim kim vrinimahi. Just like honeybee gets small nectar from all the flowers because the flower has a little nectar. But if the honeybee reaches Parijat, then it has enough nectar to satisfy, then it doesn't have to go anywhere. So a devotee, once he comes to Krishna Katha, he is completely satisfied. He doesn't have to go anywhere else. And if we are still eager to hear about the information of the world, what is happening in the political world, all the cricket world and all, then that means we have not tasted Krishna Katha enough. Satamayam sarabhritam nisargo yadarthavani shruti chetasamaphi pratikshanam navyavadachyutasya yat striya vitanam yavasadu varta. So devotees, they are seekers of sense, sarabhritam, with their artha, vani, shruti, chetasa, with their mind, body, words and all the wealth they have. They have dedicated themselves to hearing Harikatha. Pratikshanam, because for them, Harikatha is always fresh, navyavat. Just like people who are materialists, lusty, for them, they can hear topics of women whole day. They will not be satisfied. Similarly, devotees, they are not satisfied hearing about Krishna. Prabhupada writes, there are two important Krishna Katha, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita spoken by Krishna, Bhagavatam spoken about Krishna. Okay, so then after this, Maitreya Muni says, but you have heard plentiful discussions about Krishna also. So why do you want me to speak more? He says, who can be satisfied hearing Harikatha? Kastripnuya tirtha padobhidhanat satreshu vasuribhiridyamanat ya karnanadim purushasya yato
कर्णनादिं कर्णनाडिं पुरुषस्य
bhava
यातो
pradam geharatim chinatti.
भवप्रदां हरति चिनन्ति.
Who in human society can be satisfied without hearing sufficient talk of the Lord, whose lotus feet are the sum total of all places of pilgrimage, and who is worshipped by great sages and devotees. Such topics can cut off one's bondage to family affection simply by entering the folds of one's ears.
Kastripnuyat. Who in the human society can be satisfied about after hearing Tirtha Pado Abhidhan? Abhidhanat means talks of Tirtha Padaha. Tirtha Pada means that personality whose lotus feet are places of pilgrimage. So Lord is Tirthpad. Satreshuvaha Suribhi. These topics are worshipped by, and the Lord is worshipped by Suribhi. Suribhi means the great devotees and the sages. Idyamana, they are worshipped. And what is the effect of hearing Harikatha? Yaha karnanadim purushasya yato. Even once, such topics, when they enter the ear holes, what happens? Bhavapradam. What is Bhavaprada? That which gives material world. Pradhan, Bhavapradan. Kya hota hai? Kaun? Geharati. The family affection which binds one is cut off. Chinatti. So that's how Lord's Harikatha, Lord's pastimes, they are sufficient enough to destroy our mentality of enjoying in this world. That's why Rupa Goswami makes that prayer. Do not go to the banks of Keshi Ghat and look at the beautiful threefold bending form of Govinda standing there. Otherwise, you will lose all your attachments. That means he's saying, please go and see. That is called as Kayamuti Kanyaya. Kayamuti means, although he's saying, no, don't do this, but actually he means, please do this. So here also the Kayamuti Kanyaya, Kastripniyat, who can be satisfied? That means nobody can be satisfied hearing Harikatha. So Chakravarti Thakur writes about Kayamuti Kanyaya. If the names cannot fully satiate a person, what to speak of discussion of Krishna's pastimes? Taking the names is not satisfying a person. If one hears about the pastimes, how can he be satisfied? Abhidhanat can also refer to discussions about Krishna. So Prabhupada writes about Krishna Katha. Somebody can read this? I think some online devotees they wanted to read. क्या होता है ना वो उनका लेट आता है आवाज. Yes, who wants to read? Somebody who's online can read the purport.
Meanwhile, one question can I ask.
Meanwhile,